All right, so let's just start. First of all, to begin with, a very happy Women's Day to all the women who've joined my life today. So just to give you a brief background, the first Women's Day celebration was observed way back in 1911. So it's over 100 years that the womanhood is celebrated. And it's absolutely thrilling to see women do well in all fields of work, of life. And this year, the theme for Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. So I don't know how many of you are actually aware, but each year the Women's Day is celebrated along with the theme for the coming year. So the year theme for 2021 is Choose to Challenge. Now this year, like we know and like we celebrate, is celebrated globally to celebrate the economic, the cultural and the financial achievement, the social achievement of women across the globe. Now when I heard this theme of Choose to Challenge, the first thought that really came to me is that this theme of Choose to Challenge particularly means a lot to me, which essentially means that all of us as the women across globe really need to break the orthodox thought process, the wrong beliefs that holds us back from doing what we really want to do. Yeah, so and what could be the best way to do that, to have a bright and a happier future, is to really invest in our health. We as women are the most important pillar of the society, of our households and of our neighborhood. So it's important that we invest in our health. We really look up to people, to women especially, who've been in this field, who've really been doing well in terms of their health, and hence I decided to do this live on women's health and the weight loss saga. Now we reached out to a lot of people and collected a lot of questions because we've spoken about women and weight loss at few occasions already. So I wanted to hear the questions that all of you would like to know. So the questions that I've collected, one is how to stop craving food and maintain healthy diet. I don't know if the person who'd asked this question is still in the session now or not, but this session will be recorded and you can listen to this, your answer a little later as well. Now, how to stop craving. The whole idea is to not crave for food at all. And how does it work is to really have all the possible food that are part of your community, that are part of your place that you belong to, the place that you're living in, and culturally the kind of food that you've grown with. So and most often women reach out to me with their cravings about sweets. Why do we crave? If we do not eat is when we crave. If we can really eat everything and then sustain health, one, we will not crave for a particular food, and two, the weight will not come back. So the idea is to eat in moderation. What do women crave for? Women crave for sweets between 2 to 6 especially, because that's the time when our insulin levels drop, that's the time when our hormones play up. Women crave around their PMS time. Now, how do you deal with it? You deal with it by eating everything in moderation. Now, be it, a sweet or a chaat or something fried. Eat that as a, pleasure meal, and don't eat it as a whole meal. Now when I say pleasure meal, it is just to please your taste buds. So just have it in moderation, like a piece of chocolate, or maybe one gulab jamun, or one barfi, or whatever you like, or one samosa. Now you cannot overdo it, which means you cannot do it every day. So if you're able to maintain moderation and maintain balance, you will be able to sustain your weight, maintain a healthy diet, and not crave for sweets. So hope that answers your question. The next is how to switch between millets, atta, rice, which are the main source of carbs, and how to establish a rotational cycle. I like to eat all. Okay, so thankfully this person who asked me this question understands that all these are a source of carbs, because a lot of time I meet people who feel that it's just the rice or the wheat which are a part of carbs, and a quinoa or a millet or a buckwheat are not really carbs. So please understand that anything which falls under the category of cereals is carbs, be it your millets or quinoa or amaranth, which are now known as superfood or health food. They're also as rich as wheat or rice when it comes to carbs. You don't need to have a rotational cycle per se. You could just eat whatever you like, and there are a particular few combinations that we've always maintained. So for example, you would have always heard people eating rajma chawal. So if you're eating rajma, you can have chawal. If you're doing a upma, you could do a millet upma. If you want to have a sabzi, you could do it with chapati. So there's no set rotational pattern that you need to use, and there is no superfood per se. Millets are not superfood, or quinoa is not a superfood, or amaranth is not a superfood. They're all source of carbohydrate. One could have, let's say, one particular vitamin more, and the other one could have another vitamin. But when it comes to carbs, they're all carbs. So it's important that you eat just one in a meal and don't mix all of those, and eat them as and when you like. So let's say, I see a lot of people typically in South India doing their curd rice nowadays with millet, which is a fair enough option, which is a good option. Having said that, you can also do curd rice. There is nothing criminal about it. There's nothing wrong about having curd rice. So enjoy your wheat, enjoy your millet, enjoy your rice, brown rice, basmati rice, whatever you want to enjoy. Enjoy that. Again, have that in moderation. Don't mix too many cereals together. Don't do a multi-millet or a multi-flour kind of a thing. The next question is xylitol stevia allowed in a restricted amount for diabetics? Is eating less with normal sugar better, or go for a sugar-free version? Well, that's a very interesting question, Gayatri, and like I always work with all my clients, and I always tell them that going overboard just because you're using the sugar-free version, it is much better to have normal. So let's say you're having a cake. It is much better to have a small piece of cake and really enjoy it the way it is supposed to be had, rather than doing it sugar free, unless you're dealing with such a condition where you cannot just have. Now please understand, for diabetics, it is just not the rice or the fried or the sugar, what we've been hearing since our childhood. It is the overall carbohydrate control that one has to manage on day-to-day basis. If you're having a piece of cake on an occasion, or if there's a eat out, or just when you feel like maybe on a particular day, it is totally fine to have that one piece of cake and maybe manage your other things accordingly, rather than doing a sugar-free cake and in your mind you're telling yourself that it's a sugar-free cake, so you could probably gulp down the whole half cake, which is absolutely a bad deal, because at the end of the day, it's not only the sugar which goes in. There is there's flour, there's yeast, there's sugar, there's salt, there's oil, there's butter. Everything else also amounts to the overall carbohydrate content. So go for a moderation balance thing. Again, go for a small piece, enjoy the way it's supposed to be enjoyed. Okay, myth busters around rice. Now, this is from a client who's now become my, a close friend as well. When she came to me, she had tried everything, and she wanted me to break this myth for a lot more people, because people feel if they eat rice, it makes them fat. Please understand that rice does not make you fat. Like I said when I spoke about the millet and the roti and the rice and wheat and everything, is that 100 grams of millet and 100 grams of wheat and 100 grams of rice are going to give you the same amount of calories, plus minus 10 here and there. Okay, now what is wrong with rice? There is absolutely nothing wrong with rice. Unfortunately, in the last 4 decades, we've progressed way too much when it comes to food processing. So there are more than 1 million rice mills right now, which means our rice that we consume undergoes extreme amount of polishing. So which means we do not get fiber, we do not get vitamins. So the only way to have your rice, or rather the right way to have rice, is to look for rice which is hand pounded and not really milled, and it is not totally white. So when you see the variety of polished rice, it is absolutely sparkling white. While we may like the look of it, what we don't realize is that it is devoid of half of its nutrition. You only get the carb content, you don't get your vitamins, you don't get your fiber. So if you want to have rice, please go ahead and enjoy your rice, even if it means you're having rice on daily basis in both your meals is also totally fine. Just look for hand pounded unpolished rice and you can enjoy your rice. Yeah. The next question is intermittent fasting. Multiple people wanted me to address this question because a lot of people are hearing a lot about intermittent fasting when it comes to weight loss. Now, intermittent fasting, like I've spoken in one of my previous videos, is not a dieting strategy. Intermittent fasting, if used as a dieting strategy, is only a fad and you will not be able to sustain it. Like I said, it is just a lifestyle. So for example, the way intermittent fasting works is that you eat in a particular time window. It is also known as time restricted eating pattern, which means you eat in a window of 8 hours and you don't eat in the remaining 16 hours. And then there are various ways to follow it. There are people who follow 5 days of normal eating, 2 days of less than 25% of their requirement. Some people do 12 hours of eating and 12 hours of fasting. Now understand that if you're doing it only for 2 months or 3 months, and then when you go back to your normal eating pattern, all the weight that you've lost is going to come back. Intermittent fasting is a blessing for people who have insulin resistance, because it was a diet which was going for people who have insulin resistance. It sometimes also works with people who have hit a fat loss plateau where they're not able to lose weight any further. But again, if you just do it for a while and go back to your normal eating pattern, it's going to go down the drain. So if you're someone who can follow a time restricted eating pattern, go ahead. Don't believe in the fact that because I'm losing out on a breakfast or something, so intermittent fasting is going to help you. See, 8 hours window, let's say, which I'm just giving you the most popular window of intermittent fasting, which is 16:8. Now, if in 8 hours you're eating, obviously you cannot eat 5 meals. You will have to have, let's say, 2 meals or 3 meals, and there's only so much that you can eat in those 8 hours. So make sure that if you're able to follow it as a lifestyle, go ahead. It is a beautiful lifestyle. It helps put your digestive system at rest for a longer duration, but not as a dieting strategy. Okay, I have somebody asking, can you tell us about nutrition in milk? Okay, nutrition in milk is something, so all of us have grown up learning, realizing that milk is a complete food. So we have very few foods that we call as a complete food. Milk has carbs, milk has protein, milk has calcium, milk has almost everything when it comes to nutrition. Now there's a lot of confusion about that you should not have dairy, you should go dairy free. You should go dairy free if you have a lactose intolerance. You should go dairy free if you have a hormonal imbalance. There could be certain people who may not do well with the sugar of milk, which is known as galactose. You may not do well, but let your doctor or your nutritionist or your healthcare provider diagnose that for you. Just because Google says, or your next door neighbor or some auntie said that milk is not good for you, please don't follow that. There are some people who get acne breakouts with milk. It may not be good for them for a while, and then once you reintroduce, they do well with it. Unless you have any intolerance, please don't feel that milk is bad. Please go ahead and consume milk. The other question, while I'm talking about milk, I would like to clarify is about A1 and A2. There is a lot of confusion about A1 and A2 milk. What is A1? A1 is the milk that comes from Jersey cow. A2 is the milk which you get from the Desi cow. Of course, A2 is better, but that does not mean that if you don't get access to A2, you don't have milk. If you get access to good A2 milk, go ahead and have A2. If you don't get access to milk, you can still have A1 milk. It's not that A1 is poisonous or A1 is not going to give you any nutrition. A1 is also nutritious, so go ahead and enjoy the nutrition of milk. Gayatri, I hope I've answered your question. Okay, the next question is, I've started taking 1 spoon Desi ghee in 1 cup hot milk at night. It has improved my constipation. I get motion daily, but I fear if having Desi ghee will increase my weight. Can you throw light on that? Alright, thank you for that question. Because there is a lot of confusion about ghee as well. Okay, so ghee isn't bad, number one. Ghee has something called short chain fatty acid, and it has something called butyric acid, which is nectar for your gut, which is nectar for your digestive health. So you absolutely can have ghee. Now, should you have ghee with milk? That is also absolutely fine. Coming to your question, would it increase your weight? Alka, please understand that when you are having ghee with milk, obviously it is a calorie dense meal in itself. Now when you are having that, you also need to watch out your other portions. Obviously, if you are having each meal which is a large meal in itself, which is a whole thali in itself, and apart from that, if you take additional milk and ghee, you may end up and you're physically not active, you may end up gaining a few pounds here and there. It totally depends on, nutrition is always in totality. Nutrition is not just one thing. Nutrition is not just 1 glass of milk and that 1 spoon of ghee. Nutrition is what you eat throughout the day, what you eat throughout the week, and that's what causes weight gain or weight loss or your health and your energy levels. So I wouldn't definitely say no to your ghee and milk. If it's definitely working, make sure that in your other meals you are regulating. Also, you're adding a lot of fiber in your meal. You are hydrating very well, because all that together will also help you deal with your constipation. I hope I've answered your question, Alka. I am live on Insta and Facebook together, so I'm just looking at the question here. There seems to be some question on Instagram as well. Let me just quickly go through Okay, Rahima has written, ma'am, me too, same question. Rahima, I'm quite unsure of which question are you referring. If I've answered your question, good. Otherwise, please go ahead and type your question again. Meanwhile, I'm going to take up some questions from the list that people had shared. Okay, there were two questions which I'm going to club. So one person had asked health and diet tips for women in their 40s, and one other person had asked top 5 tips for 35 plus women to manage their weight with healthy diet given the kind of nutritional deficiency and hormonal imbalances women face. Now I'm going to club this 35 and 40 because one needs to work, especially women needs to work on their health, be it 35 or 40. Yes, 40 onwards we become perimenopausal and it becomes more important to take care of our health. Now when we are talking about women in 35, what are the healthy foods that we should be eating? A lot of diversity in your food is extremely important because one food item can give you only so much nutrition. So let's say if I eat cauliflower vis-a-vis if I eat bhindi, both the sabzis are nutritious if you look at them at in isolation, but both of them if you have on daily basis, you're only going to get bhindi ka nutrition, you're not going to get what cauliflower has. So if you're rotating, if you're including more variety, you're going to get that much more nutrition in your food. So make sure that there is diversity, make sure that there is more and more variety even when it comes to your grains. So play with your wheat, jawar, ragi, bajra, depending on the weather of course, makkah, play with your dal. So a lot, at least about 60% of people that I deal with only make tur dal, and it takes a great effort for me to sometimes convince them that dal does not stop at tur dal. So we have tur, we have moong, we have masoor, we have kulit, we have sprouts. So add as much as variety as possible in your grains, in your pulses, and thereby you would see a lot of variety and a lot of nutritional deficiencies going away. The other question also I would like to club was about organic and your normal. So when it comes to organic, and if you know that you have access to good organic stuff, personally I would say of course because it has a higher cost involved, fruits and vegetables, if you're choosing organic, is much better. Grains and pulses, again, even if you're buying it from a trusted source, trusted shop, the normal quality of grains and pulses are also good enough. The other thing is to stay physically active, which is very, very important. Now, why is being physically active so important when you are in late 30s or early 40s? Not because you have to be thin or not because you have to be a particular number on the weighing scale, but because when you work out, your hormones are that much more vibrant. Your hormonal balance is much better than being in a sedentary lifestyle. So the other day when I was also listening to one of the fertility specialists, she mentioned that during lockdown, as we did not have domestic help, women had to get active and do their household chores. There were women who were able to conceive without any treatment. So, the physical activity can actually do that kind of wonder. So, adding variety is in your food, staying physically active, making sure that you get right amount of sleep, because when you're not getting sleep, you will not be able to kickstart your day on the right note, and you're always sapped of your energy and you cannot do your best. Also, that gives rise to hormonal imbalance again. So it's very important for women to get proper sleep. If you think your night sleep is not those 7 to 8 hours at a stretch, make sure that you take a nap in the afternoon. The next thing is hydrate well. Women with their busy schedule tend to forget that they have to drink water. So make sure that you're drinking water. If that means that you have to put alarms, please do so and put alarms. The other thing that one should also look at in their late 30s and early 40s is to add primrose oil in their diet, which does extremely well if you are at a perimenopausal stage. Vitamin B6, which makes your hormone very happy, which makes your period very smooth, which works on your skin, which works on your hair, which works on your nails. So vitamin B6, zinc, and primrose. You can take primrose oil. You can take variety of food to get these four. Also, if you want to go ahead and have primrose evening oil supplement, is also a good option, because it's kind of difficult to get primrose oil in adequate amount through your diet. So looking at that supplement would definitely be a good option. So that's for women of 35 and 40 plus. The next question is, one second. Any specific diet for belly fat? Okay, like I've always maintained this answer, that human body is the best computer, as we call it. The brain is wired to perform its function on its own, and I and you cannot dictate saying, okay, lose fat from belly, or lose fat from arms, or lose fat from thighs. However, if you maintain a calorie deficit, and if you maintain a good amount of cardio exercise on fasted state, you will lose fat from everywhere, including belly fat. A recent study has also come out saying that if you do cardio on a fasted state, which means as soon as you wake up, and you do good amount of cardio, maybe 30 to 45 minutes, which could be swimming, which could be brisk walking, which could be running, which could be jogging, anything that you enjoy will lead to fat loss. Thereby it will lead to belly fat, thigh fat, arms fat reduction. Alright, and the next question from the list here is 5 tips for women to stay happy. Eat well, hydrate well, meditate as and when you get time. Learn to do things for your own self, even if it means just half an hour for yourself. Make sure that you're doing something that really makes you happy. And of course, stay physically active. Extremely important for women. And when I say physically active, I also mean that you must mix up your physical activity. Please don't restrict to cardio just because you are a woman. You must lift weight, or you must play with your own body weight while doing yoga, or do body weight exercises like squats, or floor exercises. Make sure that you're lifting weights or doing body weight exercises. The next question is on hair fall. While of course we do tend to spend a lot of money on these serums and the shampoos and everything, what we need to understand is that what we see outside is basically a reflection of what goes inside. So you are what you eat, and you are what you digest, and you are what you really absorb. So one is, are you eating the right food? Does your food have biotin rich food? Does your food have zinc rich food items? Does it have good amount of protein, because your hair are primarily made up of keratin, which is a protein. So good amount of protein from good source of protein, like milk, paneer, soy, eggs, lean meat. These are good sources of protein. And are you able to digest and absorb that food? If your answer is yes, continue the same way and don't fall in for too many chemical treatments. Your hair fall will arrest. How to reduce fat on your hips, butts? Okay, Shilpa, I just answered this question. I'll just quickly tell you, and of course then you can go back and listen to the old answer, which was in detail. But when you lose fat, when you lose weight, your body loses fat from everywhere, and not only from face or wrist or arms, hips. So work on a overall fat loss and let the body decide where it will lose fat from. Your fat loss could also be genetic. So sometimes the fat cells, so we are all born with a certain number of fat cells, and of course over the years with wrong eating habits we accumulate more fat cells. But the fat proportion, the disposition is genetic. So if you are somebody who has the genetic body which is a little heavier on lower body, maintaining a calorie deficit within the right nutrition and staying physically active and doing a lot of weightlifting is going to help you lose weight and fat and inches from everywhere. All right, do we have any more questions? All right, I think we're just up for the one last question that I had in my list, which I wanted to end this session with, which is, I've been dieting for 9 months now. So this is a very specific question, but I still felt that a lot of people, specifically women, go through this kind of issues. That I've been dieting for 6 months or 9 months, and for the last 2 months I am not losing weight. What do I do? Now it's always expected that you will hit that kind of a milestone, because your weight loss journey can never be downward trend, right? So you have peaks and valleys, you lose weight, you stagnate, sometimes you even go high. So hitting a fat loss or a weight loss plateau in your weight loss journey is very, very normal. But in that endeavor or in that desperation to see that drop in your scale, if you keep reducing the amount of food that you are eating, what you're going to do is you're going to damage your metabolic rate if you continue to do so. And then what will happen is, body has its own survival mechanism. Now today if I'm eating 2 fulkas and let's say 2 months later I move to 1.5 and then 1 and probably go on 0 carb because I'm not seeing a drop, you may see few 100 grams here and there, but it's going to come back. So make sure that even though you've hit a plateau for the last few weeks, that there is consistency in your food, in your workout, and then you will break that plateau. Also, don't only look at that number, look at your energy level, look at your inch loss. Your body, your body's look will tell you whether you're actually losing weight or not, or rather fat. Now, in one of my previous videos, I had actually shown and I had explained that if it's 100 grams of iron, it is only going to take this much space. But if it is 100 grams of cotton, it's going to take this much space. So consider that iron as your muscle and consider the cotton as the fat. So sometimes while you're working out regularly and you're eating the right kind of food, you could be losing fat and building muscle, which is the absolutely desirable state. So look at your inch loss, look at your energy levels, and if you feel that even there you're stuck, please continue. Don't reduce your food further and further, because that is going to get your metabolism to a rock bottom, and you will have hormonal imbalances, and you will have inch gain, and you will have low energy levels. Yeah. All right, just one last question. Can you mention some must-haves in the kitchen, and if we need to ban anything? Your must-haves are all your Indian herbs and spices. They are non-negotiable in Indian kitchen. When I say Indian herbs and spices, I am referring to nutmeg, to cinnamon, to mace, to cloves, to black pepper, to sesame seeds, to kalonji seeds. All these seeds and these spices have amazing health properties, so make sure that you add them in your in your food in the way you like it, or in the way your authentic regional recipes have always had it. What should you be avoiding? Try and avoid processed as much as you can, and absolutely ban things which come on the name of health. For example, your oats rich biscuit, or digestive biscuits, or high fiber biscuits. I keep giving these examples that one of those biscuits is equivalent to one roti. So while you may think that just because the wrapper says it's healthy, it isn't really healthy. I just quickly want to tell you this. So one of my somebody reached out to me saying, can I have this? And this was a protein bar. And this girl wanted to have it for her snacks. I said, all right, show me the nutrition label. And the reason why I asked her to show me the nutrition label, not because I didn't know, but because I wanted her to notice it. And after 3 minutes, she responded saying, but this has sugar. I said, that is why I keep telling you that you should read the nutrition label. The moment you read the nutrition label of these digestive biscuits, or of these, masala oats and stuff like that, you will immediately ban it yourself without me having to tell you. So make sure that you're reading the nutrition label. Okay, I don't have fat anywhere else, even not much on thighs, just butts. So that's the fat storage, typical fat storage area for women, and that's where estrogen is always stored in fat, and that's where the body tends to store fat. You definitely need to look at your diet, and once you correct your diet, that bothering fat on the butt, will definitely go. I think we're pretty much done with this session. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Any more questions, feel free to put them in the comments section, and I would get back to you. Thank you, and enjoy your rest of the Women's Day. Okay, Swati says my vitamin D and iron low. Start adding iron-rich foods like dates, black raisins, green leafy vegetable. If you are a non-vegetarian, add meat. For vitamin D, unfortunately, we do not have too many food sources, but cheese and milk could be a good option for vitamin D. Make sure that you're exposing yourself to sun for about 20 minutes on daily basis without any layer of sunscreen, between 10 to 12. Between 10 to 12 or 4 to 6. I know Swati is not in India, so you will have to see the conditions there, Swati, and expose yourself to sunlight. If your vitamin D levels are quite low, it is imperative that you work on your vitamin D, because it's not only a vitamin, it is also, it works on pathways for your hormones. So taking a supplement is something that you may want to exercise. With that, this session comes to a closure. Thank you very much for joining. We will talk again. Bye-bye.